Well, it's put up or shut up time. Republicans who railed against health care reform during the campaign, well, they better watch out. One House Democrat is calling them out for their hypocrisy. He's daring them to walk the walk and turn down their own taxpayer-funded health care benefits. Congressman Joe Crowley wrote this stinging letter to the incoming House Speaker John Boehner. If your conference wants to deny millions of Americans affordable health care, your members should walk the walk. You cannot enroll in the very kind of coverage that you want for yourselves and then turn around and deny it to Americans who don't happen to be members of Congress. We look forward to your response in the coming days about exactly how many of the members in the Republican conference will be declining their taxpayer-supported health benefits. Congressman Joe Crowley in New York joining us now. Why are you doing this, Congressman? I love this. It does bring it out big time. I don't think anybody's done this before, but why are you doing it?
I think it's really a request to understand ironic hypocrisy. Really, what's going on here is they ran against the health care bill that we passed, an opportunity to give our constituents, including their constituents, an opportunity, millions of Americans who don't have an opportunity to get health insurance today, to have options, to have choice in their health care coverage. They want to deny them that opportunity and yet go on the public roll themselves and get publicly sponsored health care here in the House of Representatives. I think it's hypocrisy and it's ironic at the same time.
Okay, it's on an average that the taxpayers are forking out $10,500 per member. Right. Their response is going to be, hey, it's a job benefit like any other American. What do you say to that?
What I say to that is that that's exactly what every other American wants. They want to have a job, but they also want to have health care. And so many people today don't have it. And the reality is, if they come into Congress and they want to change the way, if they want to walk the walk and speak the talk, they need to decline this health care. It's publicly sponsored. They don't have to take it. There's no requirement that any member of Congress must take the health care that's provided under this package. They can walk away for it. They can still get their salary, but they can pay for their health care if that's what they choose to do.
Joe, do you expect a response from Boehner on this?
I certainly don't at this point. There's been no response, and I don't expect one. It'd be nice if we got one, but I think at the same time, the proof will be in the pudding. Well, at some point, I think this is one of the first questions every person who campaigned against this health care bill should be asked. Are you going to take the public health care plan provided by Congress?
What do you make of that doctor? What do you make of that doctor that made news a couple days ago and he stood up and he was whining about not having health care after leaving the hospital? There's going to be a gap of no coverage there. I was thinking, why the hell don't you just pay for Cobra?
But welcome to the real world. Welcome to millions of Americans who lose a job and have to wait not 28 days, maybe 2 months, maybe sometimes go for a year without health care coverage. Welcome to the real world, I say to Mr. Harris. And things aren't getting better for people; they're getting worse. And here's an opportunity to help people get health care coverage. And he wants to repeal it, but he wants to keep them for himself. I think that's hypocrisy.
Congressman, let me switch subjects on you, if I may.
Sure.
Do you think the Republicans are disrespecting the president by backing up this meeting to November 30th?
There's no question about it. I think that's exactly what's going on, trying to diminish the office of the presidency.
You talked health care as well.
Yes, and on that, he says he is committed to repealing health care and continuing to try to get a repeal vote. I pressed him on this numerous times, numerous ways, even though they have a Democratic Senate and a presidential veto potential. Take a listen.
Beyond repealing Obamacare, we're going to do everything we can to stop this bill from being implemented, to make sure it never happens. And frankly, if we're successful, this will become the #1 issue in a presidential election in 2012.
How much time are you going to spend on this?
As much as it takes.
You criticize the president for spending too much time on health care. If you spend a lot of time trying to repeal it when it's not a reality in the Democratic Senate or in a presidential veto, won't you get criticized for that?
Well, there's a lot of tricks up our sleeve in terms of how we can dent this, kick it, slow it down to make sure it never happens. And trust me, I want to make sure that this health care bill never, ever, ever is implemented.
Essentially, they're going to try to unravel it once they take control. Republicans take control of the House of Representatives.
Begin, as we always do, though, keeping them honest. Tonight, politicians who said one thing during the health care battle and another thing the closer they got to Election Day. They said President Obama was too focused on passing health care reform and not on putting Americans back to work. Legislation first, they complained, and jobs second.
They want their president and Congress to focus on creating jobs and reviving America's economy. Instead, for more than a year now, we have seen a bitter, destructive, and endless drive to completely transform America's health care system.
Mr. Speaker, the American people are asking, where are the jobs?
The American people have been telling Washington that promoting job growth must be the first priority. But for more than a year, Congress and the President have focused instead on a controversial health spending bill, which a majority of Americans said they didn't want.
Mr. President, where are the jobs?
Mr. President, where are the jobs?
I mean, we should have been focused on jobs in June, not health care. In September, not health care. Christmas Eve, not health care.
Mr. Speaker, I would ask you and I would ask the President, where are the jobs you promised?
It's interesting. The American people have been saying from the day Barack Obama got sworn in, jobs are the biggest issue in the country, getting our economy back going is the biggest issue in the country. But for the last 8 months, all they've heard about is the Democratic Party trying to ram health care down the country's throat.
I've been asking the questions over the last 3 or 4 months. Where are the jobs?
All right, so that's the complaint, that President Obama put health care first and jobs second, that he wasted time better used to fix the economy and put people back to work on what they consider a scheme to expand government at the expense of people's freedom. Now, you can agree or disagree with that notion. That's not what we're talking about tonight. We're talking about politicians who said they were looking out for ordinary Americans, more concerned about their paycheck than a big piece of Washington legislation. And in that sense, they were right. Polling bears it out. 52% telling us the economy is the #1 concern. Just 8% said health care. So given that Americans are overwhelmingly concerned about jobs, and given that these candidates said that that's what they cared about too, you would think that they'd be focused like a laser on jobs, right? Not exactly. Watch.
So I believe that when we take majority in January, I hope that we're able to put a repeal bill on the floor right away.
We are going to repeal Obamacare and replace it with common sense reforms that'll bring down the cost of health insurance.
My target is the health care bill. That is one of the first things that I'll be trying to either repeal or defund because this is just a bad bill. It's bad for America, and it's bad for Americans.
The country wants repeal of Obamacare. The country needs repeal of Obamacare, and the House of Representatives will repeal Obamacare. Then it's going to be left up to Harry Reid and the United States Senate.
Looks like job one, as they say in the auto industry, will not be jobs, but health care repeal, or else. The New York Times reporting the pressure is on from Dick Armey's FreedomWorks, which was a big supporter of Tea Party candidates during the campaign. A FreedomWorks memo being sent to all incoming House Republicans. It says in part, politically speaking, your only choice is to get on offense and start moving boldly ahead to repeal, replace, and defund Obamacare in 2011, or risk rejection by the voters in 2012. And one footnote, there's new economic data out tonight. It shows private sector job growth for the 4th straight month, but the unemployment rate stuck at 9.6%. Joining us now, Democratic strategist Paul Begala and Dana Lash, blogger, talk radio host, and co-organizer of the St. Louis Tea Party Coalition. Paul, let's start with you. Will we see a fresh GOP move to repeal health care, do you think?
Oh, I think so. I do think, in fairness to the Republicans, many of them, probably most of them, did campaign promising to repeal Obamacare. They're not going to be able to do it, and they knew it when they said that. Our constitutional system does not allow, one party in one house to repeal legislation. They know that the Senate would never pass repeal, these new House Republicans, and they know the president would never sign it. So it's a bit of a false promise to begin with. But I do think they risk being wound around the axle of a year-long fight trying to undo or defund Obamacare when, in fact, people do want jobs. I hope the president will step into that breach with new ideas, with new proposals to create jobs and make that contrast. Democrats can then be for jobs and let the Republicans be for trying to empower insurance companies to have more control over your life.
Well, if Democratic members in the House elect Nancy Pelosi as their leader, it's almost as if they just didn't get the message from the voters this election. I mean, the voters outright rejected the agenda that she's been about, and here they're going to put her back in charge. She has refused to even meet with Republican leadership to talk about any way forward together. I mean, this is the woman who really, I think, puts ideology first, and there have been no results for the American people, and that seems the direction they want to take again. It just doesn't make sense.
Well, it's put up or shut up time. Republicans who railed against health care reform during the campaign, well, they better watch out. One House Democrat is calling them out for their hypocrisy. He's daring them to walk the walk and turn down their own taxpayer-funded health care benefits. Congressman Joe Crowley wrote this stinging letter to the incoming House Speaker John Boehner. If your conference wants to deny millions of Americans affordable health care, your members should walk the walk. You cannot enroll in the very kind of coverage that you want for yourselves and then turn around and deny it to Americans who don't happen to be members of Congress. We look forward to your response in the coming days about exactly how many of the members in the Republican conference will be declining their taxpayer-supported health benefits.